This is the new MacBook, and this is the new MacBook Air. It has the M2 chip inside, which is faster than the M1 in every way, except for one, and that is efficiency. The M2 is not as efficient as the M1, but it's still better than Intel chips when it comes to efficiency. And Apple has proved that once again with this new MacBook Air. The MacBook Air now starts at $1,200, and this is what you get for that price. You get a 13.6-inch LCD display with a resolution of 2560 by 1664. The best part about this display is that it has a notch, just like the new MacBook Pro and the new Mac Studio. So finally, we have the same design across all Apple products. I really hope they keep this notch for a long time because from a design standpoint, I think it looks awesome. It also has two Thunderbolt 4 ports just like before. But if you look very closely, you will notice that only one port is on this side, and the other one is on the other side. So finally, we have moved on from having both ports on the left side of the MacBook, which was very inconvenient. Now I wish these ports were USB-C ports instead of Thunderbolt, because honestly most people don't need Thunderbolt, and therefore having regular USB-C would make more sense. But since Apple has decided to go against that, I have decided to go against Apple and get myself an Anker 737 charger. I absolutely love this charger. Not only can it charge my MacBook at full speed, but it also has 3 extra ports so I can charge my iPhone, my AirPods, and my Apple Watch all at the same time. Now, even though this is called the MacBook Air, it is actually slightly thicker than the previous generation MacBook Air, but you cannot really tell because it's only 0.08 inches thicker. The keyboard is the same as the previous generation with one small difference. The power button now has a fingerprint scanner embedded inside of it. So now we no longer have the touch bar. I know some people liked the touch bar, and I know some people hated it, but I personally didn't mind it. I thought it was good, but if you hated it, well now you don't have to worry about it anymore. The trackpad is also the same size, but it is slightly wider than the previous generation. The webcam on the MacBook Air is now better. It's 1080p instead of 720p, which is great. It also has a larger aperture and a wider field of view. And the microphones are better too. They use the same microphones that we have on the new MacBooks and the Mac Studio. The speakers on this thing are also incredible. We've had 4 speakers on the MacBook Pro for a long time now, and on the MacBook Air we've only had 2, which was kind of weird. So now we finally have 4 speakers on the MacBook Air as well, which means that all Apple laptops have 4 speakers now. The battery life is supposed to be the same as the previous generation, which was 18 hours. But since we now have the M2 chip, which is more efficient, I would not be surprised if the battery life is actually better. Now let's talk about performance. So the M2 chip has 8 CPU cores, but when it comes to performance, it's not much faster than the M1, but it's really where the M2 shines is when it comes to graphics. Because the M2 has a 10-core GPU, it is up to 35% faster than the M1. So if you do any sort of video editing or 3D rendering or basically anything that has to do with graphics, then the M2 is going to be much faster. But here's the thing. I don't think this laptop is meant for people who want to edit videos or do any sort of professional work. I think this is the end of the road for regular people. The people who buy the MacBook Air are people who are just buying a computer for basic tasks such as word processing, browsing the internet, watching videos on YouTube, and stuff like that. These people do not need the MacBook Pro. In fact, they don't even need the MacBook Air, because when it comes to that, the MacBook Air is overkill. What most people need is an iPad. And that is why Apple keeps making the iPad more and more powerful. So yeah, the MacBook Air starts at $1,200, which is quite expensive. But if you're looking for something cheaper, there is always the MacBook Pro, which starts at $1,300.